You afraid? He asked. I nodded. So am I. But I'm all right with that. If I get hurt, I get hurt. It happens, right? Someone always gets hurt. But I don't want to miss out on us because I was afraid.
There once was a time when cash was king, and we gave it fun names like bread, moolah, cheddar. It was glorious, and nobody was swiping or tapping anything. All is not lost, because Cash is back with the new Cash Craze Scratchers, where you could win up to $1 million. You could have greenbacks for days, cabbage for weeks, smackers for years. Play the new Cash Craze Scratchers from the Georgia Lottery. Play responsibly.
Hi, Dale.
Hi, Amanda.
So we are talking this week about The Idea of You, which is freaking exploded on TikTok and Netflix, which I'm going to straight up say this. This was not on my radar until TikTok told me it had to be.
Yeah, fair. I think like Anne Hathaway was popping up on my TikTok page like crazy. The whole like every girl over 35 was going to get the haircut that she had in this movie because she looks incredible.
She looks amazing.
So good.
So the quick premise, backstory. This is a book about essentially a pop star in a boy band. Mm-hmm. Robinne Lee wrote this as, when I first heard about it, it was supposed to be like a fan fiction.
Yeah, that's
and everyone
what
like,
I
oh,
thought.
it's Harry Styles, Harry Styles. And she said, no, it's a conglomeration of all of the Harry Styleses
right.
in boy bands. And a 40-year-old woman who's falling in love.
She turns 40.
Turns 40 in the book. And in the movie, I think they have her 40th birthday party. But she takes her daughter to a meet and greet. In the book, it is a 12-year-old daughter.
I think she's even younger.
11 or 12,
yeah,
right?
like she's almost a teen.
And in the movie, she's 16. Yeah. So she's kind of over this boy band phase. But in the book, she's
obsessed.
Deep in it. Like still has the posters on her wall, still obsessed. Of a band called August Moon. Mm-hmm. And one of the lead singers, Hayes, happens to be enamored with gorgeous Anne Hathaway.
Yeah.
And they fall in love. I love the idea.
Yes.
Of this. I loved the premise.
Right.
It was a very fun movie.
Yeah.
The book was a little hard to get through for me.
Yeah. I think, okay, so I'm going to stop you there. Because I feel like we first need to talk about what we're drinking.
Oh,
because to get through this episode, we're going to need it.
Yeah. Okay. So the cocktail we're drinking today, I called the August Moon. This is essentially a porn star martini.
I love it.
Have you ever had one before?
No.
Okay. You would actually really like this. I'm not saying that because it's called a porn star martini, but it's essentially like a passion fruit vanilla vodka martini, but they always serve a little champagne on the side.
Interesting.
Some people throw it in, some people don't. So it's a little twist on that. It's a little bit of vanilla vodka, some passion fruit liqueur, passion fruit puree, and then you a little bit of vanilla sugar, shake the crap out of it, put it into a martini glass, and then you have a little champagne on the side.
I love it.
So they're very delicious.
Yeah, that sounds incredible.
But I thought it'd be a really fun mix of the old and the new, right? So like the porn star martini is something a very young person would order, and champagne's very classy. Yeah. So good like age difference between the two.
Well, it also feels like it fits nicely into the fact that the main character in this book she is French, or she's like this bougie,
Solène.
She's so fancy, and she always kind of feels out of place because she is putting herself in like a category that is above other people because she is
en français
from France, or her family is.
Yeah, in the movie, she's like, I was born in Jersey.
Yeah.
I was raised in Jersey.
So cheers to that.
Cheers to that. I do want to say, though, it was a fun movie. It was so fun. It was an old school rom-com. I was like, okay, I wasn't expecting a lot out of it.
Yeah.
I didn't hate it. But I also wasn't like, oh, I want to watch that again. It was so good. I'll never watch it again.
Fair. You know what's funny is I watched it before I finished reading the book, which maybe was a mistake because, like sometimes, you love the book so much more than you love the movie. That was not the case this time round.
Same.
I had an incredibly hard time getting through this book. And part of me wonders if a little bit is because obviously I am of that almost 40 age. And I really enjoy fantasy books. And this book, for some reason, I think felt too real and too close to home, where it was situations where I'm okay, I could see feeling that way or being in that situation and I couldn't, it wasn't an escape for me. I couldn't get myself into the book.
Okay. I understand that.
And I like to escape when I read.
Yeah, and I'm not a mom, but I am an older sister who felt like a mom. But in the book, he's 20.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And I'm just going to say this right off the bat. And they do discuss this in both the book and the movie. If the roles were reversed,
it would be creepy.
But it happens all the time in Hollywood.
Yeah.
So it's so accepted, completely accepted. But because she was a female and he's a male, it's taboo. She's, So right off the bat, I love that they acknowledge that. The book version of Solène is really trying to get her identity back, trying to find her sexuality. She talks a lot about that, how she's trying to refine that part of herself that she lost. And if you have a millionaire, insanely famous 20-year-old super smoking hot boy band superstar telling you that he's into you, that's a real easy way to reclaim your sexuality. My issue is, in the movie, they made him, I think he's 24, 25. I think he's 24.
Yeah.
And that's more palatable to me.
Right.
In the book, it has nothing to do with the age of the two of them.
Right.
It was the fact that the daughter was 11 or 12, whatever she may be.
Yeah.
And obsessed with this band at the time.
Yes.
And in love with specifically
that
Hayes.
Guy. Yeah. Has a poster of him
has
on
a
her
poster
wall.
of it. And so that felt a little
it's a little off-putting.
A little bit. And that feels very anti-feminist. So I want to tread lightly there because I do recognize the fact that it is, no one would say the same thing if the roles were reversed.
Right.
You know what I mean? And
right.
It was Britney Spears he was bringing home and the son has a Britney Spears poster on the wall. The son would be yes, Dad, you're the best.
Yeah. And I think exactly what you're saying. I think that's part of the reason why I enjoyed the movie, but I couldn't get into the book. I think because the character in the book, he's so young that it felt, as a mom of a boy who is I can't imagine. Again, it's hard for me because I am a mom of a boy. And so I think about how I would feel if my son was dating someone that was my age. That's where my head would go because the daughter is my son's age. And so the fact that the daughter was into this band specifically, it just feels...
Yeah, it's really hard.
It feels a little bit icky. And because he is 20 in the book.
Which he legally can't even drink here in the U.S.
Right.
If they had just made him 21, I know it sounds so silly, but in the movie, yes, he's 24.
But is it also a little bit of it is the fantasy of this younger, it's the whole Stacey's mom has got it going on. That whole fantasy of
I agree.
The younger boy.
Yeah.
And
the pool boy.
Of course, you're getting attention from someone who you would think as an adult woman would never in a million years look your way. And she went through this really rough divorce. Obviously, her husband cheated on her.
In the movie, in the book, they just go their separate ways.
Yeah. But is it okay, so maybe I didn't get the complete story of that.
Yeah.
I just kind of assumed it was because he cheated on her.
No, so
but it's never
in
really.
The books, yeah. So in the movie, she's super weary and unsure of this intimacy that she's experiencing with him, not only because he's younger, but also because of her ultimate betrayal by Daniel, her ex-husband, where in the book, there is no cheating. They just go their separate ways. Like they're...
Okay, because there's the blonde assistant that he's with.
Well, she's the another lawyer in his firm.
Right, okay.
Yes. Yeah, so, and she ends up leaving him too.
Yeah.
Which really paints, I think what they did, and this is just overarching and like a very vague statement, but I think they made the movie version of her more like, okay, this poor woman deserves this.
Yeah.
She's more likable. She's more approachable. She has more friends. She's super laid back. The book version of her is really buttoned up, closed off, and is more seeking her sexuality, more seeking like life and like finding herself.
Yeah.
Where the movie version of her is like trying to come to terms with who she is after being this wife for so long and being betrayed by her ex-husband. So the movie version is a little bit more, you're rooting for her in this relationship.
Yeah, and I think like I didn't see her as like someone that wasn't confident in who she was in the movie. She seems very confident in who she is.
Yeah.
Until she meets and then starts this relationship with said boy.
Yeah.
You know, because it's a little bit of like, wait, who am I when I'm with him?
Yes.
Like, I know who I am, but like, who does he see me as? Because why would he be so into someone like me?
I mean, come on, it's Anne Hathaway.
Exactly.
Jesus
she
Christ.
looks incredible.
But he has like a youthful quality, but he's definitely an old soul in the book and in the movie. Like you can feel that old soul vibe. But there is that scene in the movie where they're in Italy or they're like on they're taking a break. Yeah, when they're by the pool and she sees these girls and they're outside in like straight up triangle thong bikinis, and she comes out full parka,
the jean,
scarf around the neck,
it was
denim
jean
parka
too. I was like,
giant hat, and just goes, history of family skin cancer. And the girls are like, oh. But that moment where she's so embarrassed when they start talking and like, she's a whole ass woman who owns an incredible art gallery. But in that moment, she's just a little girl in high school who's not liked by the cool kids.
She felt tiny.
Yeah. And it was really heartbreaking scene. And that I remember watching that scene because, again, I watched the movie before I read the book. And I was like, wow, they're never going to last. Like the end of this is not them being together forever because that feeling right there.
Yeah.
She's already done that part of her life.
Right. She doesn't want to be put into that position again.
And you can tell, he sticks up for her. He 100% is like pissed at his friends for it, but they're children, you know, they're 24 years old.
They're being who they are.
Exactly.
They haven't become them, you know, who they're going to be. And I think that's just it. Like they're discovering who they are. And clearly like the girls that are with those guys are just groupies.
And they're talking about college. And when they're like, how long have you been dating? Like she's trying to make small talk and she's like, dating. We're not dating. We're hanging out. Yeah. And it's just like, oh my God. And I don't know about you, but like I'm around a lot of younger people for the business that I'm in. And just like even having a normal conversation with them sometimes, and I'm like, oh, are you guys? Yeah. And she's like, no, we hang sometimes. And I'm like, cool.
What is that? Cool. What does that mean?
I don't know what to say to you now. And I felt that moment. I was like, when you just feel old and it makes you realize like, oh shit, I am so not cool anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It's pretty hard. Yeah. It's pretty hard pill to swallow.
It is. Yeah. And I think like, obviously, you know, reading and then watching it, I enjoyed it. It was something that like had I never picked up the book, I would have been like, yeah, that was pretty good rom-com. It's pretty good.
Agreed. Ish. And I will say, okay, it's not a bad book. It's not that it's a bad book. I should not have watched the movie before I read the book.
Fair.
I would have enjoyed the book a lot more had I read that first.
Well, and do you ever like with certain books, like I know for me, I have to be in the right headspace to read certain genres. And I think with this book, it just wasn't hitting what I was needing in the moment. And so I just kept getting stuck on certain parts. And I was just like, I don't know. This just like I'm just not feeling it. I can't get past certain things. And then when I watched the movie, I was like, oh, okay. Like I can see like this is like I definitely picked up on the fanfic part of it where it's like a definite, there are some parallels of like the Harry Styles and I've read a lot of like the whole stuff, like Olivia Munn or Wilde or Harry Styles and
Olivia Wilde. Yes. I wasn't sure where we were going there, and I went everywhere but where you were trying to go.
So a lot of the stuff that I read about this was that there was a little bit of an underlying, like, it's supposed to kind of foreshadow? I don't know if that's the right word. It kind of like was similar to how they met and like obviously she doesn't have a daughter that she brought to a concert, but I think like there was a little bit of a storyline there. And so in my mind when I was watching it, that's kind of what that's the vibe I was getting. I was like, okay, I could see where people would see that parallel, that's the word, not foreshadowing.
And we're back.
Okay, brain's working again. But I think because this was so popular and it was everywhere, I definitely thought it would hit better for me.
Well, I've not watched a lot of things that Nicholas Galitzine was in, but he's the one that plays Hayes Campbell.
Yeah.
He sings all the parts himself.
Yeah.
And they had to do they called it boy band boot camp. All of those guys, they said that they bonded by playing Mario Kart. They all had to be in the same really block of hotel rooms together during shooting. And they played Mario Kart every night. So they would get that camaraderie and that chemistry because you need that on stage. That.
Yeah.
But he great actor.
Yeah.
He did great. Well, I thought he was fantastic.
What else has he been in?
He has been in something that's everyone's gonna be like, duh, how do you not know that? Isn't he in one of those
well, the reason
Outer Banksy shows?
Yeah, the reason I asked that is because I watched an interview with someone talking about Anne Hathaway, and when they were doing their press tour, she was like really big on like pushing him out into the like main interviewing portion of stuff because it was one of his bigger roles, and she was like, no, this is your time. And I like really appreciated that because it was something that like there's this beautiful actress who is incredible. I mean, she like nails every role and looks younger every year just because she obviously takes care of herself and like lives her life.
Best. But
the fact that she really encouraged him to like get his like day of fame and didn't want the like main, which of course everyone's like Anne Hathaway, blah, but she was like pushed him forward to kind of like
he's been in some bigger things, some things I haven't heard of. So he was in a couple things in the UK. He was in The Watcher in the Woods opposite Angelica Houston. He was in a Netflix horror drama series called Chambers. He was in the most latest version of The Craft, Legacy.
Interesting.
He played Prince Robert in the newest Cinderella. He was in Purple Hearts, another Netflix movie from 2022.
Purple Hearts. Okay, yeah.
And he was in Bottoms. And he was one of the leads in Red, White, and Royal Blue, which we may be talking about this season.
Yeah.
I mean, he's been in some things.
Yeah.
But he's one of those I hate that terminology, up and comers, but he is somebody who I've seen his face. I just don't know where I've seen it.
Yeah.
But he's great. He did a great job. He made me believe that he could be both things.
Right.
Both in a boy band and also
he plays the part really
in
well.
love with Anne Hathaway.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, duh.
Who isn't?
But you know what? It was very Devil Wears Prada moment where she's in her apartment or in her house and she's like, am I going to do this? Am I going to fly to New York to spend the weekend with him?
Mm-hmm.
And then she just gets on that sexy ass outfit and that trench coat.
She just does
and she just does it. And they just spend yes, girl.
It's incredible. It's incredible.
Girl.
I think one of the things I didn't love about that was the fact that she isn't honest with her daughter, because a lot of the plot of the story is how close she is with her daughter. And the biggest thing that she regrets is the fact that the thing that hurt her the most was the fact that her husband had lied to her.
Yes.
And then she then does that to her daughter. And that's like a big plot in the movie.
Yeah.
Where she really drills into the fact that she would never do that to her daughter. And then she doesn't tell her daughter that she's dating this guy.
What if you could have a career where the opportunities are as vast as our nation, where it's not about mission statements, but a shared mission? At U.S. Customs and Border Protection, we go beyond to protect more than borders. From ship to shore, air to ground, cities to local communities, CBP agents and officers are keeping people safe. Join U.S. Customs and Border Protection and go beyond for something far greater than yourself. Learn more at cbp.gov/careers.
There's also like a vibe though where it's, and this is not in the book.
Yeah.
But in the movie, it's kind of like it's her turn.
Yeah.
She's been a mom and she's been holding it down, and like her daughter's away at camp, and she probably thought it was just going to be that weekend. That was it. And it could be like, tuck it away, never talk about it again.
Mm-hmm.
But
fair.
Also, what are you going to do? Call your daughter at a sleepaway camp where you have no access and be like, hi, just so you know, I'm banging your ex-favorite pop star.
Well, and also one of the things I also was like, her daughter looks so much older than she's supposed to be. And I think that also throws me off is like when she's with her friends, like in my mind, this girl is like going out drinking with her friends at the festival that they're at. They're not at a concert. They're at a full-on festival.
Which they filmed in Atlanta in the middle of the winter, which is hilarious.
You can see their breath.
Yeah.
Like when they're talking.
And they're supposed to be at Coachella.
Yeah.
In California.
And so in my mind, I'm like, a 10, 12-year-old is not going to be at Coachella.
No.
So like, you know, her age definitely, you know, maybe it was with like the creative direction that the director took it in, like it was intentionally supposed to be an older daughter. But I think what throws me off is the fact that she still goes to summer camp. Like if she's going to Coachella, I have a hard time like envisioning this girl who then also goes away to summer camp. And it's like a little kid summer camp.
Yeah, and the
unless she's a counselor?
I don't know, because I wasn't a way to summer camp kid. But this might be a thing where you go to the same summer camp every year, so you have friends up until because she's still in high school, so she probably has a year left.
But once you get to a certain age, you become like the counselor.
Yeah, I would assume.
So again,
well, she's supposed to be
silly.
16. So, but book version, she doesn't meet Hayes at Coachella. Like in the movie, they meet because she walks into his trailer, I think, gets the bathroom.
Yeah,
and the daughter like could care less, like doesn't want to meet them. The dad bought them the tickets, and she's just like, I liked them 5 years ago. Like I don't like them now. They're
they're so middle school.
Yeah, but then the minute they all see them, they're like back to being like those little girls are like, I love you, and which is so funny because that's how we all would be at that age. Mm-hmm. But in the book, they meet in Vegas at a meet and greet, which is also so wild. Like the dad buys tickets for the 11-year-old to go to a meet and greet in Vegas.
Yeah.
Also, something I wrote in my notes that cracks me up. Why is it in every nondescript book, movie, whatever it is, where the dad suddenly can't do something?
Yeah, and then the mom has to do it.
It's because the merger fell through.
Yeah.
Why is every movie, book dad just merging things together and it never merges properly? Because in this one too, he's like, I'm sorry, I can't do it. The merger's falling through. And it's just like, why are these dads' mergers always falling through? That's what happens when you divorce your wife. You can't merge things.
Yeah. And that's one thing that I did like about the book is how, not the merger part, I like how they meet. It felt much more real. Whereas like her bumping into him because she goes into his trailer to use the bathroom is just not realistic, because I can't imagine you're able to just like go into someone's trailer like that.
Can you imagine Harry Styles' trailer?
At Coachella? That's so
ma'am.
highly guarded and like there's no. Also, they're probably not even like there until they're literally going on. But I appreciated the way it was done in the book, because like obviously they go to the meet and greet. It's their turn. They go up to the table where all the boy band guys are sitting there. And like, he like holds her attention the whole time. And then doesn't he invite them back to like an after party? And that's where they interact again.
Yeah.
And then, but also keeping in mind that her daughter is, let's say 12. Let's make her a little bit older. She's 12. And she's at an after party with a boy band, and they're all in their 20s. Like, what do you think that they're doing?
not things you want them to be doing.
Right?
And yeah.
Like, that's a little bit.
And there's just I feel like I'm hating on this too much. I'm trying not to. But there are aspects of this story that I'm like, I love this. I also love that, like, Robinne Lee, who wrote this, I just had to look at your book because I almost called her Robinne. Just because I was.
It's because of how she spells her
it
name.
with double N.
Yeah, it's unique.
I just love that she had this story in her head and put it to paper, and it was so of the times that they were like, we can make this into a movie right now.
Yeah.
And Netflix is killing it in that department.
To be fair, do you know who Robinne Lee is?
No.
Okay, I didn't know this until I looked up who the author was. She was in the movie Hitch. She was like a female, and she was in a bunch. She's an actress.
Oh, well, good for her then.
Yeah, and so like,
also, she's adorable.
Yeah, she's gorgeous.
I love her.
And she has been in multiple movies and done multiple things, and so the fact that she wrote this.
That makes me like it so much better.
Well, and I think it also puts into place why she wrote it the way she did, because it's very much like one of the.
Wait, do we think that she?
It could,
my girl,
right? It could be, but also like on the book itself, it says captures what fame looks like and how it affects us all. A fun, juicy love story. I really liked that aspect of it, both the book and the movie, how they really show, obviously, I am not a celebrity. I have no idea what it's like to have a relationship when you are so followed by every single person, and like paparazzi, and how it affects your personal life. And like they really show that side of fame in the book, but also the movie like does a really good job of how scary it is, because like there's not a moment of their lives that's not being followed by somebody.
When they're in the art studio.
Yeah, like when he first comes into the studio just to like look around and like see her for the first time, there's all the paparazzi that are outside, and he has to hide to go. And it like really puts into like, for someone who, again, isn't a celebrity, isn't dealing with that kind of stuff, like I can only imagine you really have to put your neck out for someone who's not in that world to be able to date someone 100%. Not from that world.
And that's why I respect so much. I mean, it's a good dive into as well. There's something to be said about, like people are like, oh, well, they're getting paid this amount of money. They deserve it. They're still people,
Exactly.
Dude. They're still people, and they're
100%. There's
still moms, and they still have children, and they still have lives to live.
And I think there should be boundaries in place. Like people have limits, and people have there is a point that you've gone too far. Like paparazzi are insane. I am not a celebrity, but I cannot imagine.
It's terrifying.
Like the fact that you can't even go into your backyard without being worried about, and again, kind of like what you were just saying, like, oh, but they're celebrities, like they,
and to me,
they put themselves out there.
Who cares?
But that's not normal. No one should have to be put through that. Like there is professional and then there's unprofessional. And I think like that's their job, right? Being on screen, being in movies, doing interviews, all of that is all part of their job. If there's paparazzi at those things, yes, that makes sense. But for people in their personal lives, they're going out to dinner, if they're taking their daughter to the doctors, if they're going to pick up their kid from school, if they're trying to go to an art gallery just to pick up some art for their house, like that shouldn't be something where they can't do those things without a like you look at like Taylor Swift, right?
Oh gosh.
Maybe the most famous person in the world. And like I can't imagine not being able to do anything. Like leave my house and
not
grab a coffee.
Not an option.
Like that's not normal. And again, she is where she is because that is what she wants, and she's worked really hard and like she's put herself on that map. But I like there shouldn't be like to the extreme that is paparazzi and just the lack of privacy and just boundaries. Like it is mind-boggling what these people will do to get the shot and how much money they make on those shots. Like if that wasn't a thing, like if they didn't make money, then that wouldn't be like they wouldn't be pushing. And they're selling them to
publications that are buying them at that rate. Like there's
exactly.
I always think of there's Justin Bieber always talks to the paparazzi. Like he'll be like, "Hey guys, how you doing today?" And they'll be like, "Hi Justin." And I feel like you get to know certain paparazzi because you see them a lot, you interact with them a lot.
Yeah.
And I remember one where he was just like, "Listen, Haley and I are not having a good day.
Yeah.
Can you guys just give us a break? Like
they're human."
And he literally said, he's like, "You can get a shot of me getting out of the car, but like once we get to our driveway, can you guys just let us get into the house? We're not having a good day." And like just pleading with them.
Yeah.
And like I think for the most part, they'll probably get the response they're looking for, but there's always going to be that POS that's in the freaking bush, doesn't care, will do whatever it takes to get the shot.
Right.
And I think about, did you watch this is nothing to do with this, but did you watch the Harry and Meghan Netflix documentary?
I did.
So Tyler Perry let them stay at their house, right? And it's really remote, and it's not Tyler Perry's main house, just another house that he has. It's like up in the mountains of California, you know, as we do. And they were good for like a couple weeks. And then all of a sudden they heard buzzing, and it was a drone that someone had been flying with a camera on it. And it's just, imagine how scary that must be as a parent. And I know Kristen Bell and Dax Shepard, they told the paparazzi, "You can have whatever shots you want of me and Kristen, always.
Right.
Don't ever publish a shot of our children. They did not ask for this.
Right.
They are children.
It's not fair.
It is not fair to them.
No.
And so
it's not safe.
Exactly. They got with a bunch of other celebrities who are parents, and they all kind of stuck together. It's like, we will never stop you from getting the shot of us.
Yeah.
But you have to agree, never take a shot of our children and never publish the shots of our children, especially their faces." And that is so sad.
It's sad.
like, you've got to just be like, okay, we're going to, I guess that's a parent, right? Like you're a parent, you know, you're going to sacrifice yourself always for your children. But bringing it back to this, there's the scene in the movie, and I don't remember how it goes to the book, but the scene in the movie where she's like with Hayes, they're full on together.
Yeah.
The ex-husband comes to pick the daughter up for school, and there's the paparazzi out there. And, you know, Solène and Hayes are kind of not immune to it, but they're like accepting that it's there. And she's like, "Bye, honey. Have a good day at school." And you can tell the daughter, who's been supportive up to this point, is very upset and says like, "Mom, I'm just staying at Dad's after school." And she says, "Can I just go to your house?" And it's almost like
she's reached her limit.
She's reached her limit. And movie version, that makes you really sad for Solène, but also there's a moment where it's like, maybe you got to put this on the back burner until your kid's in college, and like she's not involved, and she does, right? All of these things do happen, and in the book it's a little bit different, but this is a great exploration. I mean, it does make so much more sense now that you told me that it does explore being famous and how much you do sacrifice. And also think about it from a logistical standpoint. He's 20, but he's in this insanely famous boy band. He's probably looking for somebody with their feet on the ground, because 20-year-old girls, you're in college, they don't give a shit about your career and and not being like, when I was 20, what bar can I get into?
You were living your best life.
Living my best life. I don't care if I'm ruining your reputation as a multi-million-dollar pop star. And with her, he can just be a person.
Yeah, and I feel like they do touch on that a little bit during the pool scene where they get to the big fight, and they're very much like, you know, obviously the girls brought up the fact, and I think the guys do too. They talk about like, "Oh, but she's just another one of your, you know, like what about the other girl that you?" And I think it's interesting to see like even the way like Celine really, you can see she's like, "Oh, like I'm just another notch on his belt," kind of thing.
But that's not what he's thinking.
Not. And you see his face when they start saying that stuff. And you immediately see like how it's affecting him because he knows it's affecting her. And it's like that's a very sweet moment between them, because she's not seeing it that way. She's like, "Okay, I just realized like what this is." And he's like, like I am really into you. And like, this is the first time I've ever felt like I can just be myself with someone and it's safe. I think she was safe. Agreed. And for her, maybe he was a little bit dangerous.
He's a little exciting.
But like dangerous in a safe way, because he was actually like a really decent guy who like also got into the whole boy band because he auditioned And like, they were like, yeah, you're it. And then he's in the boy band. And so I think like...
And I think that's different in the books.
Yeah. I think that they have it where like they started out when they were young together.
Yeah.
But I liked that because it kind of puts him in a different... It makes him seem a little bit more like human in a sense.
Yeah, like approachable.
Like,
sure.
Yeah, you can kind of see like, okay, like he really does want that... Like he didn't necessarily want that life, but he loves what he does.
Exactly.
Whereas in the book, he wanted that life, but probably didn't realize it would become what it is.
Agreed.
You know, like I don't think someone who does as well as you know, like the boy band in there, as well as they were doing, I don't think they go into it for the fame. You know, like you look at like Taylor Swift. I don't think she went into it being like, I want to be the most famous person in the world. I don't think you go into it and become as big and as popular as these people are with the headspace like,
Sure.
I'm going to be so famous and make so much money.
I mean...
Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. But
you're probably right. And just to wrap it up, like I think I would definitely say do both, watch it and read it. But, you know, like we say, sometimes you treat it as separate entities. These aren't separate entities because it's the same story. It's not like they're so drastically different.
Small changes.
I would say read it before you watch it if you can, because I think I would have appreciated the book and the story version more if I had not been subjected to the movie version, which was a little bit more palatable.
Yeah.
Which is, I liked the 16-year-old daughter. I felt bad for the 11-year-old daughter. I liked that, you know, at 24 and 39, like big freaking deal. Like, who cares?
Yeah.
20 and 39 felt not weird, but just like a little bit more jarring when you're involving an 11 or 12-year-old daughter.
Yeah.
And the version of Solène in the books is a little bit more cold, a little bit more... I don't want to say selfish because it's never selfish for you to try and find yourself. Like, absolutely not. But she didn't go through what movie version went through.
Right.
So I just liked all of the versions of those people so much more than I did the book version.
I think that's really fair. And I also think women are always kind of put in that place where like if they're taking time for themselves, then they are selfish.
Oh, 100%.
You know, like that's a definite, you know, thing that we all go through because I think, you know, that's not the same for the male counterparts. And so I think that detail, that feeling we get when reading the book, I think is intentional. I think it's meant to feel like this is her inner dialogue. Like she feels like maybe I'm being selfish by doing this, by, you know, making myself happy, taking care of myself.
Absolutely.
And because there's a daughter in the story, even more so, like once you have kids, you can't do anything for yourself. It has to be always about your child, right? And I think like that's not healthy. You're not going to be the best mom if you're not taking care of yourself.
You can't pour from an empty cup.
Exactly.
Unfortunately, some women don't have enough support that they can do anything.
Most women.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So I'm going to say both, but I am going to say I really enjoy in the parallels. I enjoyed the movie so much more than the book.
Yeah.
Anne Hathaway. Need I say more?
Yeah. I'm going to say watch it.
And also her shoes, you know, like the scene I was just talking about when she goes on the plane, that freaking bomb-ass white dress and the trench coat?
Yeah.
When they were doing the costume design for that, I just saw this on the article I was reading. She was like, oh, I have the perfect shoes for that. I have these great pair of Elias shoes that'll look great with that. And like they zoom in on the shoes so much. And I just love, you're dealing with Anne Hathaway. Of course she has an amazing pair of shoes to go with that outfit.
To add to that, I was just going to say like her fashion is incredible. Like the outfits that she comes out in, I'm like, oh my God, like what?
She's like boho chic, New York. It's like New York City. It's very East Coast meets West Coast.
Yeah.
Oh God, she's so hot.
So good. She's so good. She's like one of the people that like I have never seen her in anything that I'm like, oh,
ever.
Oh. Like I cannot.
Has she ever been on a worst dress list? I can't imagine.
If so, it was because the designer put her in something that she
Agreed.
You know, like that was just weird. But anyway, my pick is watch it.
That's fair.
Not to knock the book, but I just watch it.
Okay. Well, folks.
On that. I think that's the first one ever.
Yep. It's the opposite of damsel. The opposite of damsel.
Yeah.
So do what you will with this information.
Yeah.
But if you've already watched it, maybe just don't rush to read the book. Wait a while so it gets out of your brain.
Stick with that. I think too, like, obviously these are our opinions. This does not mean like so many people have loved this book so much that, like, obviously to each his own.
Yeah, I don't want to disparage people that have like been obsessed with this book and we're like,
and we don't want to.
We wanted this movie made, and the movie got made, and I'm sure they're pissed about how it got changed. But
exactly,
you know,
it's
we are those people too. So
it's preference. It's totally cool.
All right. Well, don't forget to follow us on Watch It or Read It, Instagram, TikTok, Book of Faces. Tag us in the cocktails. Tell us some suggestions.
Yeah. And I'd love to see some cocktail photos.
Yes, please.
Get those up there.
Especially them porn star martinis that we're drinking today.
Yeah.
August moons.
Yeah,
Drink some August moons. All right, guys.
Bye.
Bye. Our editor is Katie Yonner. Our associate producer is Grace Heerman. Our production coordinator is Nicole Vargas. And our senior content producer is Kyle Bosch. Our executive producer is Tommy West, and Watch It or Read It is produced by Gotham West Studios.
What if you could have a career where the opportunities are as vast as our nation, where it's not about mission statements, but a shared mission? At U.S. Customs and Border Protection, we go beyond to protect more than borders, from ship to shore, air to ground, cities to local communities. CBP agents and officers are keeping people safe. Join U.S. Customs and Border Protection and go beyond for something far greater than yourself. Learn more at cbp.gov/careers.